If you're a baseball player and you want to improve your mental performance in games, it starts in practice. So let's talk about a couple tips that you can use in practice to start improving your mental performance now. So if you're new here, I'm Dan Blewett, and I've had a long journey with mental performance training. That's why I wrote a book in 2023 called This Slump Shall Pass. You'll find that in the description below. Definitely check it out. In today's video, we'll talk about mental performance in practice. How are you going to start to get better, just like you would taking your swings, taking your ground balls, getting your bullpens in, so that it's better when you get out there in a game. So the first thing is to engage and observe yourself. And what I mean by this is, if you're not reflecting and allowing yourself to sort of like feel the feelings that you have, whether it's, oh man, I really like doubt myself, or I feel stressed in these certain situations, or my self-talk gets really negative, I tell myself that I suck, that I can't do this, that I can't do that. All those things that are coming into your head, take an inventory of those. Say, okay, you know what? I get really stressed when we're about to do infield practice when everyone else is watching. Or I feel pretty relaxed and comfortable when I'm in the bullpen and the coach is like on the other side of the field. Or even when I make errors in practice, I get really down on myself and I can tell my body language gets bad. Take an inventory of all these things that you feel in practice so you can write them down if you want. Look, I'm a realist. I would love to be like, let's go journal and do all the, like, I realized that like I didn't do journaling or make worksheets a lot. I think there's value there, but I'm not going to ask you to do things that I probably would have done myself if I was 14 years old. But there is some merit in saying, here's the places where I can definitely feel the negative emotions flooding in, the stress flooding in. I can feel a change in my body. I get tense. I'm less loose. I'm less happy. Inventory those thoughts. So then you can say, okay, how can I go and combat those things? Like, I know that I feel more tense when coach is watching, or I feel more bad self-talk flood in when we're doing infield in front of everyone, rather than just like off at a station where I'm a little more, off to the side and everyone else is doing their own thing. That makes sense because everyone's watching you and you don't want to make an error when everyone's watching, right? Even in front of your teammates, even when it's just practice. So take an inventory and observe yourself. Learn about yourself. When do I get stressed and when do I feel good? When you have all that, that's when you can start to run around YouTube. That's why you're watching this video. Pick up some books. My book is easy to read. Listen to all the different coaches. Pick your teammates' brains. Pick your coach's brains. So take all the inventory of things that make you stressed and then add that with your toolbox, right? You learn some breathing techniques from this coach's channel or this woman's sports psychology channel and Coach Dan's channel and whatever. You got these different tips and they're your tools. And now you're going to match those up in practice and you're going to say, okay, when I'm at short and we're doing team infield and everyone's watching me and I boot one, I'm going to go with like what Coach Jason said. And he says, take a deep breath and I'm going to like clap my glove once. And that's going to be my signal to reset and try to refocus. And I'm going to really focus on just like watching the ball off the barrel, hearing the ping of the bat, and then I'm going to attack it. Right? I'm going to try to be just as confident as I always, whatever your method is. And this is something that takes a lot of trial and error. There's no like one size fits all, but it comes back to like, these are the times when I get upset or I get stressed or I doubt myself a lot. And this is what I do when I feel that. And you continue to work on that stuff in practice and you figure out what works. Hey, I had a much better practice today, even though I booted a couple ground balls or I, misread a fly ball and it was embarrassing, or I had an ugly bullpen in front of coach because I was nervous that I wasn't going to impress him. Then when you start to like try these different tools in practice, now you can say, okay, now when I have a game, I'm going to do that same thing. Or in the game, I didn't like this one thing that I heard Coach Dan say. That didn't fit me quite perfectly. But I like this other thing Coach Kelly, for example, said. So I'm going to use Coach Kelly's thing for this. I'm going to use Coach Dan's breathing technique for this. I'm going to use Coach Jason's breathing technique for this. And you're just starting to match it up. That's how I've done it my whole career. I've had so many great coaches. I've learned tons of stuff from teammates. If I had to really write down all the different things that I did as a player, they probably came from like 12 different, 15 different, 20 different sources. And I just mixed them up in a hodgepodge. And I'm like, all right, I need this, I need that, I need that. And you do all this stuff in practice and then you just get comfortable with it and then you do it in a game. And the last thing I want to mention is that you take your routines and those are the things you're going to hone in practice. When you've got to throw a bullpen, how do you prepare for that bullpen in practice? Well, I'm going to do this many throws, I'm going to do these stretches and these drills, and I'm going to do this much, running pulls or sprints or shuffles to get loose. Then I'm going to do this and this and this in this order. It's going to take this amount of time. Those are things you tinker with in practice to figure it out. Like, okay, I did this exact warm-up to be ready for my bullpen, or I did this warm-up to be ready for my catching session. I did 20 dry blocks and then whatever, all these different catching drills, or did all these different hitting drills to be ready for my BP. How did I feel? How was my BP when I did this routine? How was my bullpen when I did this routine? Well, I felt a little tired, like maybe I threw too much, or like I was kind of worn out from my running. Maybe that was a little too much for the bullpen. Okay, so then next time we're gonna go a little bit less running, or a little bit more throwing, or a little bit less throwing, or throw more curveballs because I don't feel like I got that pitch warmed up enough before I went in the bullpen. This is all the trial and error stuff where you figure it out, and practice is the place to do that, okay? So hopefully this video was helpful. Again, practice for your physical skills can be the same as practice for your mental skills. You're learning new things, getting ideas from the internet, from books, from wherever, podcasts, your teammates, your coaches, talk to people, ask questions. You're gathering information, and then you're trying to fit it to the different situations in practice. And then when you do that, you say, okay, this is what works and what doesn't. Now I'm going to do those things in the game when it really matters. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to my channel below if you haven't already. Definitely check out my book, This Slump Shall Pass. It's visual and illustrated and easy to read. I think you'll really like it. And it's got a lot of those mental tools that'll help you during your season. Thanks again. See you in the next video.